Hello everyone, welcome to the Page Turners. My name is Elizabeth Ortega. I'm going to be your reader for today, and we're continuing reading Amelia Bedelia Means Business. We're on chapter 7. Let's get started. The lemonade stand. Scratch that. Sit. You know, said Amelia Bedelia's father, your mom and I think you should start your own business, and there is one business that any kid can start. What? Said Amelia Bedelia. A lemonade stand, said her dad. Lemonade what? Said Amelia Bedelia. Stand, said her dad. Stand? She said. Stand what? Lemonade, said her dad. Sure, said Amelia Bedelia. I can stand lemonade. I love lemonade. Her father rolled his eyes and said, I know you love lemonade, sweetie. That's why you should make a stand for it. How come? Said Amelia Bedelia. Is someone trying to get rid of lemonade? Amelia Bedelia's dad's face began to turn red. Of course not, he said. You could run a stand. Amelia Bedelia looked bewildered. Dad, she asked, what do you want me to do? Run or stand? Stand, yelled her dad. Stand, stand. Amelia Bedelia jumped to her feet. Okay, she said. I'm standing. Now her dad's face was turning even redder. No, he said, not you. Your customer stand. You can sit. Thank you, said Amelia Bedelia. She sat back down in her chair. Good idea, said her dad. I think I need to sit down too. Amelia Bedelia's mother had been in the kitchen listening to them talk. While she finished up, she was carrying a cup of coffee. As she came into the living room, she sat down on the arm of her husband's chair. Amelia Bedelia, she said, remember last summer we made fresh lemonade together. It was delicious, said Amelia Bedelia. And easy, said her mother. Do you remember how we made it? You squeeze juice out of the lemon, mix it with cool water and sugar until it tastes good, then throw in a couple of ice cubes. Bravo, said her mother. Then what? Amelia Bedelia shrugged and said, that's easy, you drink it. Or, said her mother, you could sell it. What if you set up a table and made fresh lemonade? Thirsty people would stand in line to drink it. You know, said Amelia Bedelia, that sort of sounds like what Dad was trying to say. Thank you, said Amelia Bedelia's father. Then he turned to his wife and said, and thank you, darling. I couldn't have said it better myself. Amelia Bedelia bought 50 bags of lemons on sale. She used the money she saved from her last birthday, her tip from Pete's Diner, plus the $20 she got from her bouquet. Her dad helped her build a stand that was easy to set up and take down. That way, he said, you can put it up wherever you'll get most customers. Have you thought of a name for yourself? Asked her mom. My name is Amelia Bedelia, she said. That's the name you guys gave me. I meant, said her mom, a name for your business, something catchy to get people's attention. Yes, said her dad. Think big. How can I? Said Amelia Bedelia. My brain is just one size. Maybe you should advertise, said her mom. If people hear how good your lemonade is, they'll want to try it. Advertise, said Amelia Bedelia, like the commercials on TV for Wild Bill's Autorama? Sort of, said her dad, but not so terrible. Everyone knew about Wild Bill's Autorama. Bill owned a car dealership right downtown. He wore a white 10-gallon cowboy hat. In his TV ads, he shouted over and over and over that to get the best price, you had to buy your new car from Wild Bill's Autorama, the home of Sweet Deal. Suddenly, Amelia Bedelia had a great idea. She remembered last summer when her parents had dragged her along to Wild Bill's to look at new cars with them. It was boring and hot, and she could really have used a break. If she set up her stand near Wild Bill's Autorama, plenty of thirsty customers would line up for her lemonade when they were tired of looking at cars. Amelia Bedelia hoped on her awful, embarrassing piece of junk bike and rode down to Wild Bill's Autorama. She found the ideal spot for her stand right near the entrance. Perfect! This was meant to be. She pedaled home as fast as she could. As she turned in her driveway, a great name for her business popped in her head. Hooray! Mom, yelled Amelia Bedelia. Do you have any yellow paint left over from when you painted the kitchen? I need to make my sign. Sure, sweetie, said her mom. She also gave Amelia Bedelia brushes and an old bedsheet. Amelia Bedelia spread the sheet onto the driveway and went to work. Her dad had told her to think big, so she drew a lemon as large as the kitchen table and outlined it with black markers. She was in the middle of writing the name of her business right on top of the lemon when her mom and dad came out to peek at what she was doing. "Mom, Dad, stop!" hollered Amelia Bedelia. "Don't look, I want you to be surprised." They certainly were. So was Wild Bill, and so were the reporters from the TV Action News team, as well as everyone in town. Chapter 8, Amelia Bedelia's Last Stand. The next day, Amelia Bedelia waited until just before lunchtime to open for business. She figured out that by then people would be hot and thirsty and bored enough to want a glass of lemonade. Friends came along to help. Her dad set up her lemonade stand while her mom unfolded a sign. They attached it to the bottom of the sign for Wild Bill's Outerama. "Lots of lemons, handmade lemonade." "Looking good," said her dad. "Terrific name," said her mom. "It's perfect," said Amelia Bedelia. "I squeezed a whole lemon in every glass. That's a lot." Amelia Bedelia was so proud of her sign. She admired it while her dad set up the chairs in front of her stand. "Thanks, Daddy," said Amelia Bedelia. "Now my customers won't have to stand. This is more like a lemonade sit than a stand." Her father kept checking his watch. "I have a surprise for you," he said. "I called the television station and told them about your business. They thought it was a cute idea. They're sending their news team to interview you." Amelia Bedelia jumped up and clapped her hands. "Really? Will they make a commercial for me?" "Nope," said her dad. "You'll be on a story on News at Noon. That's way better than a commercial. It's the real deal." "Dad and I are going inside to look at the cars for a few minutes," said her mom. "We'll send some customers out here for you." "Thanks," said Amelia Bedelia. "I'll get ready." She cut lemons in half and put them in a big bowl ready to squeeze. Then she arranged the cups and eyes. A few minutes later, a van from the Action News team pulled up. They were her first customers. A reporter and a cameraman walked up to the stand and introduced themselves to Amelia Bedelia. And as she talked with them about her business, she made them each a lemonade. Cameramen started shooting the scene while the reporter began interviewing Amelia Bedelia. To truly appreciate what happened next, you'd have to have seen it on TV. Down at Pete's diner, Pete and Doris always turned on News at Noon for their lunch crowd. Here's what they saw. Ted Daly here, News at Noon, right outside Wild Bill's Outerama, where another business is having its grand opening, an old-fashioned lemonade stand run by this young lady. "It's Amelia Bedelia," said Pete. A policeman who was having pie and coffee at the counter looked up and said, "You know her, Pete? I had a run-in with that girl in the park." Pete nodded and said, "Officer O'Brien, be glad Doris served you that cherry pie you're eating." He looked at that TV. Ted Daly told the viewers how Amelia Bedelia made her lemonade while the cameraman shot a close-up. "Amelia Bedelia makes every glass by hand, just lemon juice, cold water, ice, and a bit of sugar," Ted Daly said. "Lots of lemons, handmade lemonade." Amelia Bedelia handed Ted Daly a glass of lemonade. "I use 1 lemon in each glass," she said. "That's a lot, but it tastes better. It's why I call my business Lots of Lemon." As Amelia Bedelia pointed at the sign behind her, the camera pulled back so people watching on television could also see the sign for Wild Bill's Outerama. "You folks at home take it from me, Ted Daly. Amelia Bedelia's lemonade may be a sweeter deal than you'll get at Wild Bill's Outerama." Amelia Bedelia was thrilled. Her dad was right. Being on the news was great. Her lemonade was going to be famous, and maybe, just maybe, she'd make enough money to buy half of a new bike. That's when the cameraman began to jiggle up and down. The cameraman could not hold it steady because he was laughing so hard. Back at the dinner, Pete said, "Looks like an earthquake at Wild Bill's." Doris covered her mouth with her hand and gasped, "Gracious, Amelia Bedelia's sign makes Wild Bill's cars look like lemons." Pete shut his eyes and shook his head. Back at Wild Bill's, Ted Daly turned around to see what was so funny. He looked at Amelia Bedelia's sign too and doubled over with laughter. Then Wild Bill himself came out to see what was going on. Amelia Bedelia was so impressed to see him in person. He was a real celebrity. "Howdy, fellas," said Wild Bill. "What can I do for you? Are you in the market for a new car?" Ted and his cameraman tried not to laugh, but that was just made it worse. "What's so funny there, fellas?" asked Wild Bill. Ted pointed to Amelia Bedelia's sign. He was laughing so hard he could barely stand up. "Lots of lemons," read Wild Bill. "That's a sweet idea on a hot day like this." Then the joke dawned on Wild Bill, too. "Lots of lemons," he bellowed. "Lots of lemons? I don't sell lemons. My cars are the best. My cars are not lemons." "Of course not," said Amelia Bedelia. "Cars are cars. Lemons are lemons." She handed him a glass of her lemonade. "Here," she said, "my treat." "I'm not going to stand for this," he said. "You don't have to," said Amelia Bedelia. "Have a seat. That's why I brought chairs with me." Wild Bill bent down to look at Amelia Bedelia eye to eye. "Little lady," he said, "are you mocking me with your lemonade?" "Oh, no, sir, you're famous," said Amelia Bedelia as she pointed at the TV camera. "Everyone knows you." Wild Bill looked straight into the camera. "Is that thing on?" he asked. His face turned from white as a ghost to red to white again. He strode towards the camera, took off his cowboy hat, and used all 10 gallons of it to cover the camera lens. Television screens all over town went dark. Back at the dinner, Doris and Pete and the policeman stared up at the black screen. "Be glad you're not Amelia Bedelia right now," Doris whispered to Pete. Chapter 9. If Life Hands You Lemons... Oh, never mind. Like Diana's pink slip, the aftermath of Amelia Bedelia's lemonade stand fiasco was not at all pretty. Amelia Bedelia took cover in the car's showroom until the grown-ups sorted things out. The TV station agreed to run Wild Bill's commercials for the next 3 months for free. Amelia Bedelia's parents agreed that she would not sell any more lemonade for 30 days, and then if she still wanted to run her lemonade business, she would stay a mile away from Wild Bill's. Back home, Amelia Bedelia faced a new worry. "What am I going to do with 50 bags of lemons?" she moaned. I've got 500 lemons." "Well, you know what they say," her dad said. "If life hands you lemons, you make. His voice trailed off. He stopped before he said the dreaded word, lemonade. "You make what?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "What do you make?" "You make the best of it," said her mom. Amelia Bedelia's dad looked very relieved. For some reason, her mom continued, "You can make lemon squares, lemon marmalade, lemon tarts." "Oh, Mom, lemons are tarts to begin with," said Amelia Bedelia. "They're born tart." "Yeah," said her mom. "That's why a lemon tart is so tasty. You know what? I'm craving lemon tarts right this minute. Let's make a big batch." Amelia Bedelia's mother grabbed the ingredients, got her tart pans, and showed Amelia Bedelia how to make lemon tarts. Amelia Bedelia added extra lemons to the recipe. She had tons to use up, after all. Amelia Bedelia said, and her mother and father each ate a slice of lemon tart as soon as they had cooled. As her dad savored his last bite, he squeezed his eyes shut and shivered. "Wow," he said, "that was one tart." Bingo! Amelia Bedelia knew exactly how she would use up all of her lemons. She would make lemon tarts for everyone she knew, adding extra lemons to make them extra tart and extra special. The next day, Amelia Bedelia got right to work. She discovered a small tart pan in the pantry. It was perfect. With just a little bit of help from her mom, she baked a dozen bite-sized tarts. She packed them carefully in her lunchbox and put them in the basket for her miserable, rusty, beat-up bike. Then she headed off to Pete's Diner. As she took a shortcut through the park, Amelia Bedelia saw the pink slip lady sitting on the same bench as before. Only now, instead of having just one dog, she was surrounded by at least a dozen of all shapes, sizes, and colors. "Hello, pink slip lady," Amelia Bedelia called out as she rode up. "That's me," said Diana, laughing. "And you must be the famous lemonade lady I saw on television, right?" Amelia Bedelia parked her bike next to Diana and the dogs. "Guess what? I took your advice," said Diana. "I started my own business, too. Here it is." She opened her arm to the dogs. "I love walking my own dog so much that I decided to do it for a living. Now I'm a professional dog walker and a trainer. See how well behaved they are?" "Wow," said Amelia Bedelia. "Can they do tricks?" "Sure," said Diana. "But usually I need treats to inspire them. And I'm allowed. I'll have to pack more tomorrow." "Do they like the taste of lemons?" asked Amelia Bedelia. She took out her lunchbox and gave Diana a tart to taste. "Amazing," said Diana. "It's so little and yet so tart." "I made a very tart," said Amelia Bedelia. "Do you think the dogs would like them?" Diana broke off a piece of lemon tart and put it on top of Buster's wet nose. He didn't move. He just sat there with a tiny piece balanced on his nose. "He doesn't like it," said Amelia Bedelia. "No," said Diana. "I've trimmed him well. Watch this." Diana snapped her fingers. Buster sat up, flipped the piece of tart in the air, opened his mouth, and gulped it right down. He wagged his tail happily. "He does like it," said Amelia Bedelia. She looked over at the other dogs. They were looking at Buster and at Amelia Bedelia, then at Buster, then back at her. "What about them? Can't they try a tart too?" "How many do you have?" said Diana. Amelia Bedelia set aside enough tarts for Pete and Doris. Then Diana showed her how to make the dogs sit and lie down and roll over and jump into the air. When the tarts were all gone, the dogs gazed at Amelia Bedelia, wagged their tails widely. "Look at them," said Diana. "You made lots of furry friends today. They'll never forget your tarts or you." "Thanks, Diana," said Amelia Bedelia. "I love dogs." She patted them all one last time, got back on her bike, and waved as she rode away. "Hey, Amelia Bedelia," Diana called. "You should start a new business. You could call it Tart Tarts." Amelia Bedelia tried to ring the bell on her handlebars to let Diana know that she loved her suggestion, but it was broken and didn't make a sound. On her way to Pete's Diner, Amelia Bedelia took a detour by Wild bills out of Rama. He wasn't there, so she left the tar for him with a note she wrote. I'm sorry again about the sign. Here's one lemon I hope you'll like. Yours truly, Amelia Bedelia. Chapter 10, Cheaper by the 1/2 dozen. When Amelia Bedelia walked into Pete's diner, people turned to look at her. I'm embarrassed, she thought. I hope they weren't here when I stepped on that piece of pie. Then she heard whispering. That's her. Her? Are you sure? Sure, I'm sure. It's that little lemonade lady. Amelia Bedelia began to blush. She was so happy to finally see Doris. Doris gave her a huge hug. Hi, Amelia Bedelia, she said. We saw you on TV. You're a big star now. Amelia Bedelia was still blushing. She had started to explain that she had really happened when Pete came out of the kitchen. Look who's here, he said. Step on any pies lately, or did you come back here to kick our coconut cake? Amelia Bedelia sat on the stool at the counter. I came to apologize, she said. You gave me my first job, but I didn't do a very good job at it. Pete took a plate of hot French fries from a passing waiter and set it down in front of her. Oh, yummy, said Amelia Bedelia, but I don't have enough money to. Relax, said Pete. It's on the house. Whose house, she asked. On your house? Never mind, he said. They're on the counter, and they're on me. I mean, they're free. Thanks, said Amelia Bedelia. She put her lunchbox next to the plate of fries and dug in. What's that for? Asked Pete. Did you bring your own lunch? No, said Amelia Bedelia. I have a present for you and Doris. She opened her lunchbox and took out her last 2 lemon tarts. Pete took one look at the tarts and declared, time for coffee break. He poured 2 cups of coffee while Doris put the tarts on plates and got 2 forks. Wow, they look terrific, said Doris. They taste even better, said Pete. Do you really like them? Asked Amelia Bedelia. You bake such delicious brownies. They're famous. Ha, said Pete. A great lemon tart takes a lot of skill. My brownies are a dime a dozen. A dime for a dozen, said Amelia Bedelia. That's a good deal. She dug deep down in her pocket, pulled out a nickel, and put it on the counter. I'll take 6 brownies to go. Doris chuckled. Coming right up, hun, she said. You're a better businessman than Pete. Keep your money, Amelia Bedelia, said Pete. Just bring me 2 dozen of your little lemon tarts every day. I'll pay you 50 cents apiece. Doris did the math quickly in her head. That's $12 a day, she said. Do you think you can do it? Amelia Bedelia thought it was over for at least half a second. Then she gave Doris a thumbs up, and Pete her firmest handshake ever. You've got a deal. Amelia Bedelia headed for home. She felt great, and she had baking to do. She cut through the park, pedaling as fast as she could. She sped up when she saw the policeman. Then she flew past Diana and the dogs. The dogs began to bark and pull at their leashes. Amelia Bedelia looked over her shoulder and waved at them. That was when she ran into Suzanne Scroggins, literally. Blam! Both girls were thrown off their bikes. Both bikes crashed to the ground. Amelia Bedelia rolled across the grass and came to a stop at the edge of the flower bed. Suzanne skidded down the sidewalk. Amelia Bedelia dusted herself off, then went to see if Suzanne was okay. Are you all right? Asked Amelia Bedelia. I guess so, said Suzanne. She pointed at Amelia Bedelia's elbow. You're bleeding. Amelia Bedelia pointed at Suzanne's knee. So are you. Why did you run into me? Suzanne demanded. Are you trying to wreck my bike? What do you mean? Asked Amelia Bedelia. It was an accident. Amelia Bedelia remembered that Doris had tucked a napkin into the box of her brownies. Here, she gave the napkin to Suzanne. Wipe your knee. Suzanne looked in the box and said, Ew, gross, what's that? They used to be 6 brownies from Pete's diner, Amelia Bedelia said, laughing. I must have landed on them when we crashed. They got smudged into one big chocolate pancake. And smiled. That's a good thing. It looks like they broke your fall. Amelia Bedelia tore off a piece of the big brownie and ate it. They still taste great. I'd love to have this pancake for breakfast. Here, try some, Suzanne. She gave her a piece. Call me Susie, said Suzanne. Wow, this is yummy. Suzanne said goodbye to Amelia Bedelia and got back on her bike. But when she tried to pedal away, the wheel made a scraping sound. Uh-oh, said Amelia Bedelia. No problem, said Suzanne. The bike shop where we got it is right by the park entrance. Do you want to come with me and see if they can fix it? Amelia Bedelia and Suzanne walked their bikes over to the bike shop. It was called the Spokespeople. While the owner of the shop, whose name was Marcus Smith, repaired the wheel, they wandered among the rows of the bikes for sale. Above her, hanging from the ceiling, Amelia Bedelia saw a beautiful bike. It was just like Suzanne's, but it was red. One day, that will be my bike, she vowed. If either of you ladies want to get a new bike, Marcus said, here is your chance. He tapped a poster on the wall behind him. It read, Annual Downtown Celebration and Bike Parade. First prize, the bike of your dreams. Listen to this, said Suzanne, as she read the poster. Decorate your bike for the parade. This year's theme is individuality. The winner can select the bike of her dreams from the spokespeople. Amelia Bedelia was excited but wary. So far, science had given her nothing but problems. Maybe this poster would change her luck. She did have one question. What kind of decorations can we put on our bikes? Marcus shrugged. Good question, he said. Since the theme is individuality, I guess you can do whatever you want. If I were you, I'd use plenty of imagination and be as original as you can. He spun the wheels on Suzanne's bike. They turned smoothly. All done, he said, Marcus, and it's on the house. Whose house? Asked Amelia Bedelia. Your house or Pete's? Huh? Marcus asked. Thanks, yelled Suzanne, as she and Amelia Bedelia rode off together. Good luck, ladies, called Marcus. And that's the end of the last chapter that we're reading for today. Thank you for reading with me, and see you next time.